And next, we're going to introduce Illinois Women in Cannabis, and we have Kirsten Velasco. Thank you so much, Kirsten.
Thank you for inviting me, Holly. It's incredible to be here in such a beautiful space and an awesome neighborhood. I volunteer with Illinois Women in Cannabis because these days I see so much chronic illness and so much problem with prescription medications. By now, we've all known someone that has had a devastating illness, and that devastation isn't just the pain of a failing body. It's the expense, the depression, the isolation, and that takes its toll on the whole family and the community. So now we have a new treatment option in Illinois, medical cannabis. Let's get it out there. Society as a whole thinks of cannabis as a party drug, something that you might catch a whiff of at a summer party. We think it's dangerous. At the very least, it can get you arrested. And many people have heard of patients near the end of life using it to ease their pain and suffering. If cannabis is medicine, is it going to be like the prescriptions we have now that come with a yard-long sheet of warnings and risks of death? Fortunately, no. No one has ever died from an overdose of cannabis. And in contrast to that, in 2014, 129 people died every day in the United States of a drug poisoning. Cannabis is so safe and effective that patients are able to reduce the amount of prescriptions that they use, and it's already had life-saving benefits. In states with a medical cannabis program, they've seen a reduction in death from opioid overdose of 25%. Cannabis has been medicine forever, for thousands of years. But our modern research has started in the 1960s when they isolated and identified THC, that one psychoactive cannabinoid. But now there's over 100 identified, and other many compounds that altogether naturally contribute to the medical benefits of cannabis. CBD is a cannabinoid that's gaining a lot of notoriety now because it has a long list of medical benefits: anti-seizure, anti-tumor, anti-pain, anti-inflammatory. CBD has no psychoactive effect, and it neutralizes the psychoactive effect of THC. So patients are able to choose a medicine that treats their symptoms but leaves them completely clear-minded and focused. Because cannabis is safe, it's got a long history, patients want to know, how do we consume it? And they're relieved to find out that they don't need to smoke cannabis. And we as a society know that smoking is not good for us. So vaporization is an option where it's used a much lower heat to make the medicine go into a steam that's inhaled. Now, inhalation is super important because it can end pain in like 30 seconds. Patients love edibles because it gives them longer durations of effects. And they come in and they say, I finally slept through the night. And it's just such a relief to know those patients have that kind of comfort. Patients with rheumatoid arthritis love the topicals because you're able to put that right onto the affected area and have almost immediate relief of pain and inflammation. Patients choose their method, and they choose the cannabinoid contents until they find what's perfect for their unique situation. Well, we know that it's safe, but society still thinks it's dangerous, and the federal government classifies this as having absolutely no medicinal value. However, it's important to note that there is a prescription cannabis medicine. It's Marinol. It's a synthetic THC. And on top of that, the federal government owns a patent for cannabis as medicine. It's called cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants. So with all this research and proof readily available on the internet for anyone, it's understandable that more than 23 states now have created their own programs, and it's taken years for Illinois to negotiate and collaborate to create the law and then to build the industry from scratch. And on this timeline, you can see that it took almost 2 years from the time the law was signed until medicine was available. We now have about 5,500 patients in the program, and it's due to expire in January 1st of 2018, which is shorter than 2 years. But we are not going to let this happen. There are layer upon layer of requirements and rules that will keep patients, doctors, and the public completely safe. The basic overview of the Illinois program is that licensed cultivators grow the medicine indoors under high security. The medicine is then tested for purity and potency and packaged in tamper-proof sealed containers and then shipped to a dispensary, and the dispensary is where the patient gets the medicine. And there are 32 now open in Illinois, and the closest to us is Dispensary 33 on North Clark, and on Fullerton we have Modern Cannabis, and there's several more due to open up. So, because cannabis is still federally illegal, patients cannot cross state lines with their medicine, and they cannot use their medical cannabis card in another state. A patient, to be eligible for the program, has to be diagnosed with one of 39 qualifying conditions. And here's the list of those conditions. Now, some of these you've heard of: cancer, multiple sclerosis, AIDS, but many of them are more rare. However, cannabis is so wonderful at reducing pain and inflammation that patients really want to have many, many more conditions added to this list. And there is a process allowed in the law. Patients petition in January and July to have their conditions added to the list. And the patients have gone through this process twice now already, and the governor refused to add those conditions to the list. Important things like migraine, IBS, post-traumatic stress disorder, and he even vetoed a law that would have added post-traumatic stress disorder to this program and helped so many veterans. In order for a patient to get a medical cannabis card, a doctor has to send a form to the state that verifies the diagnosis of the qualifying condition. And then the patient has to send in an application that has a 2x2 photo, a copy of their driver's license, 2 proofs of residency, a fee, and a background check done by digital fingerprint scan. Now, that's a process, but it's manageable. The sticky point is getting the doctor to sign the verification for that qualifying condition. It's a form called a physician certification form. It's just verifying the diagnosis. We are reaching out to them because they are reluctant to sign these. They don't know about the law, they don't know about the medicine. So we're trying to educate them and reassure them that they are protected by the law. Patients can take an article with them to their doctor's appointment that describes the benefits of cannabis with their particular condition, and that might help a doctor consider this treatment. Let's do a quick recap of the application process: the doctor certification, the patient application, and the background check done by digital fingerprint scan. I want to note here, veterans do not need that doctor certification. They request their records from the VA. And I also want to bring your attention to these exclusions. People with a commercial driver's license are excluded from the program. It doesn't matter if they have cancer or multiple sclerosis. They don't get to be in the program. If they are connected to law enforcement, they're excluded from the program. And certain people who have drug felony convictions or violent crime convictions are also excluded from the program. Now, these exclusions were a compromise. It was meant to make the program more safe, but this is blatant discrimination. There is no other substance that a patient is required to give their fingerprints or be blatantly excluded because of their profession or something that happened in their past. We can't stand by and let this happen when cannabis is safer than Motrin. You can't stand by when you know that patients need this medicine and it's safe and non-toxic. So please, speak about this, invite me to speak about it, join an organization that is doing this work in Illinois. And Illinois Women in Cannabis is an organization that is pulling together all activists and reaching out into the communities all through Illinois so that we can share this information. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to answer your questions.